I would like to thank you for taking the opportunity to view the 2021-2022 ballot presentation of the 21-22 Wappingers Central School District budget. I only wish that I had an opportunity to make this presentation in person in front of members of our community, but unfortunately, due to the circumstances with coronavirus, I am unable to do that. So I will be doing this presentation virtually, and I'd like to lead off with the mission of our district, which is to empower all of our students with the competencies and confidence to challenge themselves, to pursue their passions, and to realize their potential while growing as responsible members of our community. I would like to recognize the members of the Board of Education and thank them for their support and their input into this budget. President John Lumia, Vice President Keith Odoms, Trustee Marie Johnson, Trustee Peggy Kelland, Trustee John Morgan, Trustee Linda Rappaport, Trustee Robert Rubin, Trustee Eddie Sloshower, and Trustee James Spencer. Members of the Senior Staff Administration, Mr. Darren Lolkema, our Assistant Superintendent for Compliance and Information Systems, Dr. Michelle Cardwell, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and the individual who deserves the most credit for putting together this fantastic budget, our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Business Development, Ms. Kristen Crandall. In addition, Mr. Richard Zipp, our Assistant Superintendent for Student Support Services and Accessible Education, Ms. Renee Harris, our Director of Human Resources, Mr. Ronald Brois, our Director of Facilities and Operations, and Ms. Alberta Pedro, our District Clerk and the Secretary to the Superintendent. Thank you all for your input. The 21-22 ballot includes two propositions. The first one is the overall budget. That's Proposition 1, just over $256 million. The second proposition is our bus replacement purchase, just over $2 million. As we know, it has been a very, very difficult year for our families within the Wappingers Central School District, as we have faced very challenging and unprecedented times. We are proud at this point to provide these propositions to our taxpayers because they represent the identified needs of our students and they meet the goals of the Board of Education as well as our building and department level administration and you, the Wappingers Central School District community. We have been receiving emails and correspondence from members of our community since this process began in November, and we are very, very confident that the budget that we are putting forth to the voters is one that meets all of our collective goals and serves in the best interest of our students and their educational experience within the Wappingers Central School District. So the first proposition, the budget, little over $256 million. Our goal, we want to maintain the current educational programs that we have for our students, which involve academic enrichment. In addition to that, extracurricular activities for our students, professional development for our staff. Now more than ever, we need to make sure that we provide these opportunities. New York State enacted a budget in April that saw a few highlights. Number one, the foundation aid increase for the district was increased to just under $6 million, and that is New York State financial aid. Previous concerns regarding a mid-year budgetary reduction of up to $10 million, fortunately, was eliminated. The governor's proposal to consolidate reimbursable aids has been removed from this budget, and expense-driven aids such as BOCES, transportation, library materials, and others will exist. We also had the Coronavirus Rescue and Relief Appropriations Act funding of just over $10 million and the American Rescue Plan Act with funding of about $8.5 million. These are included in a separate budget aid line and will be reported in the Special Aid Fund. This $18 million is not part of our general fund revenues. That's important to remember. The proposed 21-22 budget remains within the tax cap. That means that in order for the budget to pass, it needs a majority vote plus one. It's important to note that the levy-to-levy increase in the tax levy is 2.49%. That is the second lowest tax levy increase in the last 4 years. So within this budget, no federal funding will be necessary to balance the general fund so as to meet the needs of students as well as the priorities of the Board of Education, the administration, and the community. Now more than ever, as I mentioned before, we need to make sure that the social, emotional, and academic health of our students is in good standing. One of the ways to evaluate the social and emotional health of our students will be the addition of 6 positions to support the social and emotional health for our students and staff. In addition to that, it has been a very, very difficult year for our extracurricular activities, our theater programs, fine arts and music, athletics. Fortunately, we were able to start seasons, but in some instances, parents were not able to attend based upon regulation. We have agreed with Local Live that they will be streaming access for each high school to support our athletics as well as our arts and entertainment activities. This is important. You will have the ability as parents and community members, if you're not able to be there in person, to watch our students participate in these vital activities. We felt it was important to provide our community with that opportunity. Forecast 5 will support data analysis to ensure that we have equity and access for all of our students. I should say that Forecast 5 is BOCES aidable, as Local Live is as well. We're going to reinstate a carpenter position in the Facilities and Operations Department due to the continued project work completed by the Wappingers Central School staff. We have been very fortunate that the workmanship of the Department of Facilities and Operations within our district has been absolutely phenomenal. And certainly when we have an opportunity to repair issues and make reparations, we utilize our staff. They have the skills to do it and have done an extremely effective job. Increased instructional supplies at the building level due to the past year budget reductions, and professional development expansion to focus on cultural responsiveness and social and emotional learning, as well as the replenishment of past year budget reductions. It is our anticipation that when we begin school in September, we are going to have to identify the learning loss and learning gaps that exist for our students. I would like to commend all of our staff for doing the best job possible with remote learning. It has been difficult for all of us. It has been difficult to administer, it has been difficult to teach, and it has been difficult to learn. Moving forward, we are going to place every priority on determining where our students are academically very, very early in the school year. Professional development for our staff will be key to find out certain identifiers that they are to look for and strategies to combat some of that learning deficiency. That is important, and that is something that we need to do the first few months of school. We need to find out where every student is. We need to be able to differentiate instruction, and we need to be able to personalize learning for each and every one of our students. So what does this budget mean for our taxpayers? So if the value of a home is $150,000, the estimated school tax increase for the school year would be $64. A house that's valued at $250,000, the estimated school tax increase for the school year would be $106. And for a house evaluated at $450,000, it would mean an additional $191 estimated school tax dollars for the school year. These increases provide the opportunities that I just mentioned to meet the goals that we as a community, a school district, and a Board of Education have set for our students. They deserve it now more than ever, coming back after a pandemic. We will continue to maintain our current educational programs, and we will add in additional areas that we believe we need to ensure the health, social, and emotional welfare of our students. Tax levy history, levy to levy, I'm going to go back to 1819, 2.92, 1920, 1.42, 2021, 3.64, 21-22, levy to levy increase 2.49%. As I mentioned, it's the second lowest levy to levy increase within the past 4 years. So let's take a look at the revenue that we receive by each individual source. 70% of our budget comes from the proposed levy. 26.94% comes from the proposed New York State aid. 1.51% comes from other revenue, and 1.46% comes from our fund balance. So where do we spend that money? Obviously, we are a people business. 51.45% of our funding is spent on salaries. 33.08% is spent on benefits. BOCES, services, 7.45%. Contractual, 6.44. Supplies, 1.31. Textbooks, 0.21. And equipment, 0.05. Expenses by category, obviously. Our primary role is to teach and instruct. 53.57% of our monies are spent on instruction. 33% is spent on undistributed. 7.57% is spent on general support. And transportation is 5.78%. Proposition 2, this is our bus replacement purchase, about $2.2 million. So let's go over some facts from our transportation department. Currently, we have about 160 large buses, 73 vans, 10 caravans, and 8 buses that are wheelchair accessible. Vehicles to be retired. We have 23 vehicles proposed to be retired. 15 large buses, 4 vans, and 4 caravans. The average mileage of our large buses is about 140,000 miles. Passenger vans, about 129,000 miles. Caravans, about 131,000 miles. Let's talk about the average age. Large bus, about 13 years. Vans, about 9 years. Caravans, just under 8 years. And the average maintenance supply cost for our large buses is about $65,000. Our vans, about $8,000. And our caravans, about $7,000. We hope to request and have approved 18 71 passenger buses that are diesel. The cost per vehicle, $116,000, comes out to about $2.1 million. And then we have the 20 passenger vans, which are gasoline. We're requesting 3, about $55,000, $167,000, which comes up to just over $2.2 million. So that's 21 vehicles, 18 large buses, 3 vans. The district uses 5-year revolving bond anticipation rates to finance the purchase of school vehicles. Adding a bus proposition annually to the ballot allows for consistency in budgeting for the related bus band principal payments in the general fund, as only the change in proposition amount is adjusted in the general fund balance. The bus proposition expense is aidable annually. The 21-22 proposition would result in a net cost of approximately $257,000 starting in the 22-23 school year, which is approximately $103 more than budgeted 2020-2021 for bus bond anticipation note payments. Facts to consider with a vehicle replacement plan, as we mentioned, the safety and the age of the fleet. Obviously, our responsibility is to provide students with safe transportation to and from school. That means that we need vehicles that are working and functioning properly, that meet all of the New York State Department of Transportation requirements, and we also need to ensure that we hire the best qualified personnel to perform the necessary duties. Fiscal responsibility. It's our responsibility to maintain a stable expenditure level for the Wappingers Central School District taxpayers related to the maintenance of our school vehicles. So when you pay now for required replacements, there's significant cost savings as opposed to paying later, when vehicles will require increased costs due to breakdown or service needs. An aging fleet requires significantly higher maintenance and related labor costs. Enrollment. We have declining enrollment, although we have increased our small vehicle ridership within the same district boundaries that have been unchanged. The district has been mindful of this for the past few school years. The fleet has been adjusted to the proper ratio at this time, and we continue to maintain the district policy on 100% transportation and walking limits for our 10,500 students who are within our 15 schools. Student needs align to the New York State mandates and requirements. Again, we're responsible to maintain a stable expenditure while we ensure that transportation requirements for students are being met. Costs related to different types of vehicles needed, as well as replacing older vehicles, increased van ridership, increased number of out-of-district placements, increased number of federal mandated transportation for students, etc. If the budget fails, what happens? Well, the Board of Education would have three options. The first option would be to adopt a contingency budget. The second option would be to revote the same budget. Or the third option would be to revote a revised budget. The date for a budget revote is June 15th of 2021. Let's talk a little bit about a contingency budget. It removes all expenses that are not ordinary and contingent. An example of this would be equipment. The 21-22 tax levy would be capped at the 2021 amount of just over $175 million. The contingent budget amount would be approximately $252 million. This would be a budget-to-budget increase of 2.85% from 2020-21. This action equates to a cut of over $4 million from the current proposed budget. In the event that the district goes to a contingency budget and Proposition 1 is defeated, there are a number of reductions that will occur. And these run the gamut of every program and service that we provide for our students. As far as student programs, we're talking about possible reductions: field trips, intramurals, chaperones for events, interscholastic and extracurricular activities, and slots for BOCES, CTI, Career Technical Institute, Arts and Education, our Summer Scholars Program, Debate Club, and Exploratory Enrichment. As far as personnel, it could include up to 42 positions. These would include teachers, teaching assistants, educational assistants, as well as clerical. Administration, up to 10 positions, which could include directors, assistant principals, clerical, and confidential district staff. Our capital component, up to 4 positions: custodians, maintenance workers, and supervisors. And other reductions in the areas of equipment purchases, magazine subscriptions, library books, special projects, interscholastic transportation, BOCES lease reduction for technology. The reductions of this magnitude would have a significant impact to the students of the Wappingers Central School District, as well as our community. The budget vote and school board election is May 18th, 21, from 7:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. Opportunities to share your feedback, ask us questions, and gain a further understanding through district-sponsored events. We have the public hearing on the budget, which will be Monday, May 10th at 5:30. There will be a live stream event, and it will be on YouTube on WCSD Media. We also have a website, budget@wcsdny.org. Email us your concerns, your questions, and your feedback. That email continues to be up and running. And obviously, you can go to our district website, www.wappingerschools.org. There is a tremendous amount of budget information for the 21-22 school year. And obviously, there are opportunities for public comment at Board of Education meetings and the budget public hearings. With that, I would like to thank you for taking the opportunity to view this video. Again, I wish that I had an opportunity to do this in person. I would like to thank our community for their patience and support in what has been a very, very difficult year for all of us. And I would like to thank you for your continued support of our students and our school district. Thank you, and take care and be well.